Let's face it, the information out there on how to get lean is confusing. Go carnivore, avoid dairy, avoid gluten, calories don't matter. When I first lost fat, the information wasn't that confusing. It was just misguided and there wasn't much of it. When you want to lose fat and get lean, you want to create an energy deficit. That's a calorie deficit. The number one reason anyone is fat is they lack the ability, for whatever reason, to balance their energy. The first law of thermodynamics states energy cannot be destroyed. It must be stored in the form of body fat or used for fuel. As energy intake exceeds expenditure, the excess energy is stored as body fat. At a physical level, the key solution is to get into an energy deficit you can sustain. All right. The billion-dollar question is how. If anyone tells you that an energy deficit is not the key to fat loss, they're pulling your leg, trying to sell you some weird supplement, some weird diet, or some weird protocol. This video will give you 4 tried and tested strategies to actually be able to stick to your diet and get the results you've always wanted. At one point, I thought I'd be fat forever. Forget what you've heard. Every single one of you can get lean, and every single one of you can get a six-pack if that's what you want. Just maybe some people a bit faster and easier than others. On the flip side, me just telling you to eat less is as useful as telling an alcoholic to drink less. As you can imagine, it all starts with here. In your head, you would love to be leaner, but you don't want to face a low energy and mental strain that comes along with less food and a diet. But that's not actually the reality. A study using a gel-like food substance compared a severe calorie deficit, that's under 500 calories a day, which is, trust me, is nothing, with maintenance calories over the course of 2 days, and showed no effects on mood, sleep, and mental performance. Yes, the study was only 2 days long, but the participants couldn't tell which group they were actually in. Multiple studies find that a calorie deficit has no effect on your brain's ability to function or your mood. You don't need to be mentally energized. A 2018 meta-analysis found no link between psychological stress and weight loss. The stress actually comes from the idea of being on a diet, not the lack of food. Our bodies thrive in an energy deficit. Until we reach extremely low levels of body fat, being lean actually protects you against diabetes, chronic inflammation, and hormone imbalances. So many of the side effects are actually in your head. Your body's actually getting healthier as you lose body fat. So remind yourself, it's a mental struggle, not a physical one. Many of the side effects from dieting are actually in your head. You need to remind yourself, it's a mental struggle. The first strategy is to actually stop counting on discipline. I used to be hell-bent on discipline, literally just focusing on the goal at hand and just pushing through. It actually made it harder for myself. And if you want results at last, you don't want to just make it harder for the sake of being hard. Everyone and their dog will tell you just push through, just try harder. Research has actually found that self-restraint does not significantly improve the rate of weight loss. The disciplined approach to fat loss is based on willpower being limited when it's actually not limited. Self-control failure is what gets you, and that's largely to do with shifting priorities. Your brain establishes that your current goals are not rewarding enough for the effort that's needed. So your mindset when you're dieting shouldn't be focused on discipline or willpower. It should be focusing on making it easier for yourself, actually reducing the amount of willpower you need to stick to your diet. And when it comes to a simple diet, you really do want to keep it simple. You can eat more or less the same foods every day, and you want to make sure you have like a menu designed out for the week, so you prep in advance what you need to prep in advance and make sure you're stocked in the fridges and the cupboards on foods you need for these specific recipes, and keep the recipes as simple as possible. You don't want to overcomplicate things. You want to use as many single ingredients as possible. And if you're not a good cook, you can experiment on the way, but now's the time to keep it very, very simple, but also obviously enjoy the foods you eat. The ideal macro split. Too many people are obsessed with this, and I used to be one of those people. I used to weigh everything according to the perfect macro split, which I was constantly changing based on what other people I follow would say. And any coach is like telling you they're going to give you your macros, you should just say to them, oh, cool, because it's very easy to work out like your macros, because guess what? They don't actually matter that much. Well, the only things that really matter are protein and calories in terms of fat loss. But if you were to factor in obviously overall health, which we're all chasing, there's a minimum requirement for fat, but anything above that is up to you. But the minimum requirement for fat is 25%. But when you look at the research, look at long-term studies, when you compared like diets where protein and calories were equal, it didn't matter what the macro split was. But just in terms of your overall health, 25% will make sure that you can continue to produce hormones and that you're not deficient in fat-soluble vitamins like A, D, E, and K. When it comes to protein, there are many different recommendations out there, but I think the best one and the easiest one for you to follow, especially if you've got some body fat to lose, would be 1 gram per centimeter of your height. That was actually proposed, well, the first time I actually heard it was through Eric Helms. And that gives you a good amount. If you have a bit less, that's completely fine. A bit more, that's completely fine as well. Something to bear in mind is that obviously protein is very satiating, it's very filling, so it's gonna help you stay fuller for longer. So make sure all your meals contain protein. And in terms of protein helping you burn more calories, that's true, but it doesn't have a significant effect long term. So for example, for me, I'm 193, that'll be 193 grams of protein a day, but I'll eat somewhere between 170 and 200, somewhere between that range when I'm actually tracking. And what does that look like? That looks like 3 to 4, well, I'd say 4 servings, like most days of protein. That's including a protein shake and an apple, and 3 full meals, so to speak. The third one is being flexible. Many years ago, I'd be so rigid. I'd focus on just eating clean foods, that's clean foods, 100% of the time. So it'd be chicken, rice, broccoli, and repeat, more or less. I'd have the odd steak, but it would be that similar concept of clean foods. I wouldn't eat out. I would just focus on cooking all my meals and making sure that if I was to go out with friends, I would eat before. And worst case scenario, if I was, well, it's not the worst case scenario, but in my world, the worst case scenario was I would maybe eat something ultra lean, that flavor at the restaurant. If I was feeling dairy, I'd add some hot sauce. But that's not the way to be. I would lose fat, gain fat, lose fat, gain fat. And this is what was literally because I wasn't flexible. I wasn't allowing for life. And what I do now is, very successfully, I have the 80-20 rule. So 80% of the time, whole foods, single ingredient whole foods. And 20% of the time, I'll eat more or less what I want. So I'll eat burgers, cakes, pastries, noodles, whatever I want. So on average, I'll probably eat out 1 to 2 times a week, but I might make something a bit more off plan at home that looks like a takeaway or looks like something you've eaten out. A 2021 study co-authored by Bill Campbell, one of the top nutrition researchers, actually found no difference in fat loss when comparing a rigid, clean diet to a flexible one, just greater increases in muscle mass in a flexible group. I didn't really know why there were increases in muscle mass, but one speculation on my half would be the fact that they probably ate more carbs, and those carbs probably showed up as fat-free mass when they done stuff like DEXA scans. The fourth and final strategy that's gonna help you stick to your diet and actually finally get the results you want is actually taking a break. No, not a Kit Kat, no, not a week away from training and eating right like I used to do. And then that used to end quite badly because I just used to feel like that was just setting me right off tracks just when I was building momentum. But what I actually mean is, when you're feeling stressed and tired, is to actually take some time out of your day to do something different. So what you can do is you can take more walks throughout the day, book a massage, visit a spa, prepare your meals in advance to avoid mindlessly eating. I don't do much meal prep because I mainly work from home, but I do use cooking as my mental breaks. You could actually prepare 3 days worth of protein in the fridge, stock up with cans of tuna, low-fat Greek yogurt, easy bags of frozen fruit and vegetables. I'm talking about making it as easy for yourself as possible. So when you get stressed out, it's not this huge willpower battle, this huge crisis of willpower and discipline. It just becomes a lot easier for you to actually stick with your plan and stick with your diet. That's all I really wanted to cover. If you've got any questions at all, comment below. And if you've got any deeper questions, feel free to follow me on Instagram. Instagram's still a thing, even with the invention of Threads, and feel free to follow me there too. But if you've got any deeper questions, send me a DM on Instagram. I answer all my DMs. Any comments, comment below, hit that like button. Have the best day ever, and we'll talk soon.